I'm John Miglosh for the WDMA and the International Society for Strategic Marketing. Well, today I want to talk about the broken windows theory and how it applies to the customer experience. And I think it's a really powerful article. Unfortunately, the author's name gets chopped off when I PDF'd it. And so I know his last name is Rio, R-I-O, and he's from France. But I forgot his first name, so I apologize for that. If you would have popped in as I invited you, you would have got full recognition, full. But what I wanted to start with is I originally thought about when I heard the broken window theory, I mistook it for the broken window fallacy. And I'd like just to play a short video, and we can talk a little bit about the broken window fallacy. And here we go.
What is the broken window fallacy? It all starts when a hooligan decides to throw a brick through the local baker's window. The community gathers at the bakery to discuss what has happened.
I feel bad for that poor baker. He's lost a window.
It's true, but if you stop and think about it, maybe it's not all that bad. After all, the baker does have to repair his window, which means the glazier will now have work to do. After getting paid, the glazier will probably spend his new income on some of your crops. Then you'll have income to spend on even more goods and services.
Biscuits and gravy. The hooligan has actually stimulated the economy. Imagine how many more jobs would have been created if the hooligan had done more damage.
Have you all lost your minds? Haven't you read Frederick Bastiat or Henry Hazlitt? You're only focusing on what's seen, the money I will spend repairing the broken window, or while you will ignore what's unseen, the money I would have spent on a new suit. The tailor would have also spent his new income on some of your crops, a farmer giving you more income to spend on other goods and services. The only difference is that I would have had both my window and a new suit, whereas now I only have a window. This hooligan has cost our community a new suit.
The story of the hooligan shows us that physical damage destroys wealth. After all, if the hooligan's act actually did stimulate the economy, then society would have been better off if he had destroyed the sign, the building, and the rest of the town.
Okay, so that's enough economic theory for the moment. But you understand that it's just like the basis for half of what our government does with shovel-ready jobs and all the rest of it. You know, they take money that we would spend very, very carefully because it's our money, and they spend it very, very carelessly because it's not their money. And that's a fundamental economic principle, and I think one that needs to be covered more and more often. Oh my, oh my, my. I explained it to my kids, and I said, okay, because there's a radio commercial that says, you know, every dollar you spend on infrastructure puts $4 into the community. I said, okay, so remember back, or imagine back when St. Paul and Minneapolis had no bridge between the two. I said, the Minneapolis had all the grain and beef in the world, and St. Paul had the pianos and the French dresses. And then they had to put them on little boats and go across the river. And it wasn't too terrible. But just think how valuable the first bridge was going across the river. And they said, yeah, really valuable. I said, how much is the second bridge? It might cost the same. They said, half as valuable. Well, it's not even half as valuable, unless the other bridge was completely clogged all the time. It's like 1/10 as valuable. What about the seventh bridge, right? It's just a convenience thing after that. There's almost no value whatsoever. It's a little bit of a time expense if you have to drive a little ways to get across the river, right? Oh, ultimately you have infinite bridges, and there's almost no value at any of it. And that's the way infrastructure can work. It's not always valuable at the same rate, okay? And when government spends, it's almost never as valuable economically and as beneficial and as good an ROI as when individuals or businesses spend the money, because they are very careful. Anyway, so that's the that's the broken window fallacy from almost 200 years ago. Now let's talk about the broken window theory, which I really had no idea. I thought they were one and the same. Okay, and the broken window theory is originally was developed in the 70s, late 60s. And the idea is that leaving an element visibly damaged or unrepaired, a window on a building or a car, for example, was a signal that no one cares. Taking care of small vandalism as well as more serious crimes prevents escalation. That's the theory. And of course, I guess it's been well tested and proven that when a neighborhood like the Baker chooses, I'm just not going to repair the window. I'm going to keep the money in my pocket. I'm going to save it up, not buy the suit, because I don't know when I might have to pay for the repair. I mean, these things are way, way more complex than that little video. Because you could also say, well, what if everybody in the community gave the glazier $1, just $1 of their own, and so he could get the window repaired because of the broken window theory. And they weren't out much money. And he wasn't out his suit money, and the window got fixed. So what we have is we have a couple of positions. One, we know the window needs to get fixed because the broken window theory says you better fix those windows or clean up the graffiti or whatever else, because a neighborhood can go right downhill. And I wanted to mention the Blight Authority, because what they are is they are a nonprofit that comes in and bulldozes entire neighborhoods to start over. Because it's much more valuable to start over than it is. If you've ever played Sim City, you know that. Be healthy with your bulldozer. Anyway, what this guy says is make sure the basics of customer service, and now the new buzzword is customer experience, are covered. This is really interesting. I had a stove where the coating on the range started exploding the first day we had it off. Now we made 2 prime ribs inside it, for, cooking at high temperatures for 3 hours, and when it cooled down, these little glass shards, which is the porcelain cover, flew off. We had plenty of pictures, and so we got in touch with Whirlpool, and they basically said pound sand. Well, we eventually found, through LinkedIn, one of the vice presidents of marketing or something up there, and I basically said to him, or my wife called up and said, look, here's a link to the pictures. They're not out in the public, but here's a link to them. This is what happened with 30 people at our house and little children who could have swallowed one. Or it could have gotten in the meat and they could have swallowed one that way. Fortunately, it didn't happen really till we got the meat out of the oven. And I said, if this could cost you $1 million in sales just getting this out on the internet. Or send us a free stove. The stove cost them $150 or something. And sure enough, they came, carted the other one away, took the stove back. They were just going to replace the range first, and then they were going to just replace the stove, but we'd paid $700 for it or something. And eventually, we got credit for the first stove and got a new stove, but they took care of it. So way to go, Whirlpool! It just took a little arm twisting, and it was wonderful. But the point is that if they didn't, it would have been a massive escalation, and that's the principle in this article. Is that if you don't take care of the small things, leaving a broken window unrepaired creates an environment where it's all right to break things and can quickly escalate and become problematic. Now, this doesn't mean you should give every customer everything they ask for, okay? Because I used to work at an imprinted merchandise place, and the customer service people came to me and they said, we want to change the guarantee, which the guarantee was basically for any reason you can send this back. They said the problem is that people spell the name of their own company wrong, and then when it gets there, they notice it, and then they want us to give them a whole new batch where they spell it right. They said it's not fair, and this is the really important point. It's not fair to the good customers, right? Because we'll have to raise our prices slightly. It's not fair to the good customers to let these bad customers abuse our guarantee. Whoa, that was profound. And so we changed it to something like, we'll make every reasonable problem right, and the imprint, logo, etc. is your responsibility. And that saved us a lot of trouble. because then the customer service people could at least negotiate with the crazy people that were coming in and calling. So I'm not saying that you need to fix every problem. I'm saying you need to deal with every problem. And that's the point of Mr. Rio or Rio. We have a town that's spelled that way called Rio, but of course in Spanish it would be Rio. So I apologize for not knowing. I'll send you the link when I get this over, but I want to remind everybody this is the only marketing news show, live marketing news show in the world every day, as far as I know. So share it with your friends. Let's get some thought-provoking comments. Let's build a community around every day a little 10-minute review of the news. I'm John Miglosh.